Hey guys, Deathscyp here from Y.C.G, your casual gamer. So in this episode we're going to cover the height maps and how we can use them inside our Unreal Material Editor. Using the bump offset method that you see over here. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the occlusion mapping, and I'm going to show you guys how to use the tessellation on another texture. And this is what it should look like at the end. On the screen you have the bump offset on the left, and on the right the tessellation. So stay tuned. Alright, so you have your material now with the diffuse, roughness, and a normal map. Now time to add a little height map to the scene. So what I mean with the height map is, like I was saying in the last episode, it works on grayscale. So you have the black or whites. So whatever come closer to the white is going to be popping out of the texture, and whatever is more black, it's going to be more pushed in inside the texture. And whatever is gray is going to be plain, straight, not affected by the height map. Now, much like the normal map, so if I go over here and I disconnect this, this is the bump offset that we're going to create together in a few seconds. So you're going to see right away that we have the normal map over here that creates this nice little creek depth inside our texture. The bump offset, so the height map, what it does is that it takes that effect, so you need to connect it to both, and it makes it puts it on like steroid. So you can see right away that it's way more present. So it's going to add this nice detail to a flat surface by instead of having to sculpt everything inside a 3D engine, you would just have this texture on a plane and you have your wall. So that's pretty awesome. So alright, so now knowing this, there's many terms you're going to hear when talking about height map. You can have the displacement map, the tessellation, the parallax occlusion mapping. They're all good. They're all different ways of making an height map. That effect that I just showed you there. And they all do it on better levels. Well, on different levels. So you have the, but it goes with expensive. How expensive do you want your game to be? How much do you want your players to be able to handle? Because the more you put details, the more your players are going to need a better machine to run your program. It's quite simple when you look at it this way. Now, so the bump offset would be used as a less expensive GPU scene. So if you have a, well, you can see it in most games that have been grabbed and they've been tweaking the game just by putting bump map offset, nice height map, just to create that depth and more details inside the scene. That's what you use the bump offset. But also a good bump offset could create really nice effect on walls. Now the second one on the scale over here is the occlusion mapping. Now I don't have a tutorial on that one because this one is actually really complicated to do, I find. Well, it's more long than it's very complicated. But the result is quite awesome. I have it on screen over here. Is not only does it create that depth, but it also creates that self-shadowing effect that you see on screen. So it's still a plane. There's no more. There's not more geometry over here. It's just the vertex on the plane, and they just get moved to create that nice effect. So the difference between the bump offset and the occlusion mapping is that the bump offset calculates the height map and the coordinates once for the view angles to create this illusion. But the parallax occlusion mapping also does that, but it calculates them several times. So you get a much more better result. And also it creates that self-shadowing technique to itself. So but you guessed it. This technique is more expensive, a lot more expensive than the bump offset. So you know where to put yourself to use that. Now let's create the bump offset together. So it's over here. We have our texture, and let's bring it over here. We're going to right click and write bump offset. Now you have to connect the green or the alpha over here, because if not, if you see over here, I was on my green channel because the rest doesn't really give that black or white effect, and I actually don't have an alpha on this one, so I need my green. So Remember that. If you put anything else, you're going to see that it gives you an error when you connect it to the diffuse, or because you have to connect it to the color and the normal map. But if I connect this over here, you're going to see that there's an error and it won't work. So keep that in mind. Just put the green back. Next, we're going to add an intensity, because right now it's too intense. Because if you look over here, the base ratio is 0.05, which is very strong on Heightmap. So let's grab this. So let's hold 1 and left click to add a 1 vector, and then just put 0.005 instead of 0.05, and you're going to see that it creates that effect. Now it's there. Now the last thing I wanted to add is the coordinate. So let's go and do a texture coordinate. And the reason people add this is that not only is that you can actually scale, or you choose your tiling on your map. You see over here, I'm still on 1, 1. If I wanted to make the rocks bigger, let's say, I could do that. Or if I wanted to make them smaller, it would work too. Now let's apply. So we're done with the bump offset, and let's see how it reacts on our scene. So let's grab our cube and make another copy. So this one over here has the normal map. So this one here as a normal map, and this one as our new effect. And you're going to see right away, if you look at both, that it doesn't look that good. And the reason being is that, and the reason I kept this map is that it's actually not that great of a night map, this one. And you're going to say, well, it's all black and white. What's the problem? Well, the problem is that my rocks are not defined. And what I mean by this, if you look at the brick over here, it's very clear to me that whatever is white is going to pop out is the brick, and whatever is black is going to be the hard edge. But over here is not that clear. You see that on the rocks there's all these little black spots and everything, and when you put this in perspective of the bump offset, it's going to get confused. And this is why it creates these kind of watermarks on the rocks, and it doesn't look good like this, which is the actual same thing. And if you're wondering how I did this, I actually just went on inside the starter content, and I just grabbed a few texture. I grabbed this one, this one, this one, and I'm in a material with it. So you can go ahead and recreate this if you want. Very simple. And that's it. And now if you go up here, and let's add this one to the scene to see how good it looks. See how good it looks? If you put this inside a scene from far, and you can even play with this more to have a bigger effect. You could put this maybe to 0. Did I take the right one? This is 0. Oh yeah, that's the one. If I wanted to, I could make the tiles bigger. And apply. And you will see over here a very nice result. So that's it for the bump offset.